Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are doing a market review for Reno Sparks area for February 2023, and also you're going to want to stick around because we went on and got the top 15 questions you should be asking before you're buying a house in 2023. So, welcome back in. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Brian Cushing, tell us a little about yourself, what company you're working with.
I'm with Essex Mortgage, and I always love talking about numbers, and so the stats is right up my alley.
All right, so we're going to dive right in because we have a lot of stuff to cover today. Stick around to the end because you're going to want to know if you're a buyer. These are the top questions that are trending out there. So, Brian, we're going to talk about the market conditions, Reno Sparks. Keep in mind that this is for single family. We're not talking about condos. We're not talking, for the most part, about new home builds. This is just resale homes.
My favorite.
So February 2023, we're looking at a median home price of $515,000. So year over year, that's down 7.5%. So we're still seeing declines year over year.
Downward pressure.
And we're up a modest 1% month over month. So just keep in mind that the record was hit last summer at 615. So we're about 100,000 off of the height. So that's a good reduction here.
Yeah, totally.
So,
well, let's see, 274 closed transactions. So homes transacted, 274 is down 27%, 27.3% from last year, but up 16% from last month. So we got to find a positive in here.
right. So not a lot of closings. Several factors. We all know that elephant in the room is interest rates are higher.
And it's wintertime.
But man, this winter, and if you don't live here, in Reno, Nevada, it's been epic. I mean, if you're a skier, good for you. If you're just the person that's shoveling the snow, you're backwards.
You're going to enjoy it this summer, though.
And now we have a atmospheric river coming in, so it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting in 2 weeks. So that's why closings are off.
Yeah, and I think March will be affected by that when we get to it.
Yep. Median days on the market, meaning that once you put it on, how many days are the median house getting into contract? And it's actually come down quite a bit. It was almost into the 60s, but now we're into the mid 30s, 33 days. What we're seeing, if we're looking at anecdotally on ours, 60 to 90. It's just kind of what that is on.
I think the price, the median price has a lot to do with that, right?
Yeah, so if
you price, I mean, homes are going to sell fast.
Yeah, and it's up 560%. So the market's kind of slowing.
From a year ago,
and down 42% from a month ago. So
yeah.
Keep in mind, not a lot of houses. So the inventories, believe it or not, is still pretty tight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Well, $287 median price per square foot is off 1% from last month, down 8.6% from a year ago. That's not crazy.
No, and just keep in mind that that number is good to kind of just give you a rule of thumb on what's compared to different cities, different states, and just keep in mind that fluctuates quite a bit neighborhood to neighborhood depending on where you're at in Reno. So new listings. So we sold 275 essentially. We only got 312 new listings.
So there's more to see.
There's more to see, but barely. I mean, we're talking 37 more homes difference. New listings down year over year, 34%, and up 20%. So, like Brian said, your month over month is a positive. But
I always like the little curve that shows how low it goes in like December and January, and then where we should be on the uphill slope for months ahead.
That's a really good point. It's seasonal now, especially with the winter. So hopefully we'll have a huge swing up here. I'm guessing not in March, but
yeah, let's get through this miracle March thing, and then we'll see what April looks like. The spring
flowers.
I
think there's going to be a huge demand because people are tired of the snow. So
well, yeah, I think if you live in Tahoe, you're tired of the snow for sure, and if you live in California and you're not out of the mudslides are coming, so you're just might as well move over to Reno and Nevada right now.
Right. What about active inventory, Brian?
So 564 homes active. That is way lower, so 20% lower than last month. That's 88% higher than last year. So active, just meaning it's available for sale, not pending, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's quite, that's not too many homes though, because if we skip down the months supply inventory, if we didn't bring any more houses on, we'd still be out in 2 months.
Well, last fall, I remember there was like 1,000, and I thought that was not very many, and this is nothing.
Yeah, so people aren't selling their houses right now, and I expect people are going to be stir crazy, right? I think there's going to be a lot of people coming in and putting their house on the market and wanting to move.
Well, you should do a roof inspection before you do that, because the wet winter has caused some issues when it comes to that.
Yeah, and
I've got a couple of these sales aren't going through because
so we talked about downsizing, and if you're tired of shoveling your roof, if you're tired of 5 to 7 feet of snow, check the link above. Look above. We have a whole downsizing one, and if you want to talk about it, that's one thing that we're helping a lot of customers with, because a lot of people in the higher elevations here, Mount Rose Highway, are struggling to keep the snow cleared, especially if you're a little older. So, all right, so February stats, we're done with those. We're getting into the main attraction. And this is going to be rapid fire. Brian doesn't even really know the questions. I give them to him ahead of time, but
printed them. But I
what we're trying to do is we either talk about buyers or sellers and give you a leg up. And if you're out there thinking about buying, how to get the ball rolling, what questions should you be asking your realtors, your inspectors, and what the process is. So I'm going to go through these. I'm going to put pressure on Brian here to answer them, and I'll chime in.
Well, I think I'll ask some of them of you if it's more appropriate.
Yeah,
you ask me the first one.
Okay, so the most important thing to do is you got to talk to a lender and figure out your housing budget. So how does someone do that?
Well, the housing budget is, if you rent a home right now, or you're paying rent, you also have utilities and all these things that you have to pay for. But buying a house, you might add extra expenses, like the home might be in a homeowners association. So what is your total budget on a monthly basis? And your lender's going to go over with you what that housing payment looks like, and do you qualify for it? Make sure that you don't qualify for more than your budget. We see that a lot where people end up marrying the house and they're stuck with this payment that's really difficult to afford. Even though they did qualify for it, they might not be able to do travel baseball this summer because it's that expensive.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a little bit more conservative, especially with interest rates going up. So just keep that in mind, is that you may want to dial it back. Just because a lender out there gives you an amount doesn't necessarily mean that you should take the full amount, right?
That's 100% true.
All right, so I'm still sticking with you on this one. Number 2 is, how much should I save for a down payment? That's a real good question.
Well, that plays right into the budget question. So if you have a budget and you want to pay X number of dollars per month, if you want to buy a house that's more expensive than your budget, if you put more down, or if you save for longer to put more down, you can stay within your budget. Now, money doesn't grow on trees at my house. I don't know about you.
We have a money tree out back.
Do you?
Yeah, but it's under snow right now, so it's not producing this year.
All right, come May, I'll come see you. So saving for the down payment, you could put, as a first-time buyer, 3% down on a home, but you're going to pay extra fees, mortgage insurance. If you could put 20% down, you don't have to pay mortgage insurance, and your payments are going to be lower on the same price house. But that, to keep the payment the same, that's how you would up your budget. So you're going to have to decide, where can you drum up the money for the down? Retirement accounts, mom and dad,
whatever. There's a lot of different options out there. So just keep in mind that the higher you're down, probably the better you're off. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
So
it's going to help you hit your budget. Now I'm going to ask you this one.
All right, with number 3?
Number 3 here. So we got. I want to ask the realtor, how much are my closing costs?
All right, so that's a good question. And as a buyer's agent, if I'm representing you, I'm going to try and be aggressive and get the seller to pay as much as possible in this market.
Okay, but how much are they?
Typically, what we see in this market is about, if you want to plan for it and you're not going to get any credits from the seller, you're probably looking at 1% to 1.5%.
Okay.
So if you're buying a $500,000 house.
Okay, I'm gonna caveat that. I'm gonna give you a better way to calculate it. If you, whatever the area median price is, we just said it's 515,000.
500, yep.
If it's over 515,000, what you just said is perfect. 1.5% of the total price is pretty good estimate. If it's below the median price, you're probably looking at 2%, and if it's below 300,000, it might be 3%. The reason I say that is some of these fees are fixed in. Your appraisal costs the same on $300,000 house as it did on the $600,000 house, and that's going to mess with your percentages.
Right. So the best thing to do is when you put an offer in, we can call the title company and run
Can I give
run
you a
the
better
net sheet.
suggestion?
Talk to your lender.
Talk to your lender before you make the offer on the house.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Title and lender, and then because you guys do all the fees, right?
Yeah,
they can
absolutely.
tell you HOA fees. There's a lot of HOA fees. There's transfer tax. They're trying to raise transfer tax. I don't know if you know that.
It's
By 10%.
It is a legislative year, so.
So it's 40. They want to go up 40 cents per thousand. So that's a lot of money.
$4.10 per thousand in Washoe County.
Yeah,
now.
so they're going to try and for Washoe County they're trying to push it to 4.5.
Okay, now I think that's closer to what Clark County is.
Yeah, Clark County's one of the highest. I saw it and I don't recall offline, so keep that in mind. But you need the budget. So just because if you think you need 3% for down payment, you probably need another 1 to 3% for closing costs. But in this market, if your realtor is not being aggressive and at least asking for some closing costs and a buy down, non-reoccurring closing costs, I think you might want to talk to a different realtor.
Well,
Just
if you
try to
don't-
be aggressive.
If you don't ask, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna get anything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes, just to warn people out there, we talked about this yesterday on a different podcast, it's better to have a little higher price and get money towards closing costs. And it can benefit both parties.
All right, I'm gonna ask you number 4. I need to save for my moving expenses?
Yeah, I mean,
If you're under 40, you could probably move yourself.
yeah.
If you're over 40, yeah, you're gonna wanna put some money aside, because what was it, 2 guys in a truck or something like that helped me.
Depending on the size of your house, I can tell you if you're like a 2,000 square foot house, you're probably running anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. So if you're buying a median home price, another 1%. So we're stacking up these 1% really quick. So it's probably safe to say 1 to 2% also for moving if you're gonna hire a company.
So I guess if you don't ask these questions and you go through the process and all of a sudden you're like, it feels like everybody's adding 1% to you. Everybody you meet's adding 1%. But if you ask these questions ahead of time, you might be ready for it.
Right. So plan for that unless you can move yourself. I know a lot of people do it themselves. You got to calculate how much time you take off work. You know, time is money. So do that calculation before you do it. And some of the furniture is heavy, and your realtor and your lender aren't probably going to help you because we're getting a little older and it hurts. I'd rather you see hire a professional. We have lots of those who do that. So what's the next question?
Yeah, ask me.
So here's another 1%. How will I furnish and decorate?
How will I furnish and decorate? Well, first off,
Don't do it before you close,
that's
because
right.
that will screw up your lint.
Don't go, I don't care if it's Memorial Day sale coming up and you just can't, chomping at the bit, you want to get something at RC Willey or at Home Depot and put it on layaway. If they check your credit, you could be hosed, so please don't do that. But, you know, furnish and decorate the house, like hopefully the stuff you have now fits in the new house. I remember moving and my couch sure didn't look very good in the new living room, so sure enough, within a couple months, we're getting another couch. So back to that budget conversation. If you are thinking about buying a house in the future and you sit down with a lender and you come up with that budget, let's say your rent's $2,000 a month, but you're budgeting for a $4,000 a month mortgage, start saving $2,000 a month now, and maybe you'll have enough to do the decorating and
Okay,
do
so
the
if
couches.
anybody knows me, I like to be thrifty.
Okay.
I would like to say sorry, I'm just gonna put it out there, my wife's gonna kill me. About 80% of the house, our house is furnished with other people's furniture. And
Nothing wrong with that.
you can find some really good deals. We do estate sales. We just sold and basically gave away a ton of great furniture on a house we just sold. For like a couple $100.
And somebody probably sent it to Consigned Furniture in town, so if you go to Consigned Furniture, and consistently you'll find all kinds of awesome stuff.
You know, and
I've seen multiple pool tables,
So, that's a
Guys,
cheap tip and you can find some good stuff because what happens, people need to move and they don't want to deal with it. So they'll say, take some pictures and come get it or whatever. So, that can be a short-term fix to get some nice stuff
Cool.
and take your time, so.
All right, so number 6, what's the neighborhood like?
Yeah, so-
I don't know, see, I get stuck in the office, right, so I don't get to see the house or the neighborhood. What's the neighborhood like?
So, Yeah, that's an important question because you're gonna want to figure out if you have kids. There's a whole bunch of different factors. Maybe you want a little larger lot. The best thing to do is talk to your realtor. If you're looking in South Reno, which we specialize in, go to my website, livinginsouthreno.com, go to neighborhoods. We have a very nice description of like the top 10 neighborhoods in South Reno.
So I got an idea. Let's say you have a dog and you're moving to a new area and you want to see what the neighborhood's like. Just go for a dog walk in your future, area like South Reno, Demonte Ranch has got lots of parks, places you can walk. Just walk around, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to promote doing this, but this is what I did. Totally was not.
this is good. This is insider stuff right here.
Well, I live not too far from where the house that we ended up buying, so I'm an dark 30 kind of guy. So like 4:30 in the morning, I'll get on my mountain bike, and I actually rode the hills back behind the neighborhood and went and kind of checked out the house at sunrise. So anyway,
Do some of your own legwork. Ask your realtor.
drive to and from work, during rush hour from the house,
That's a really good point. Is particularly if you're living out north, make sure you like that traffic, or make sure it fits into your schedule. So drive it. Talk to a realtor. Look at a lot of houses. Another thing that we like to do, inside tip is, hey, if we're showing a house and there's a neighbor out, let's go talk to them.
I love that.
Because a lot of people are a little embarrassed about doing that, but let's do it. Because that's a good way to say, hey, what's going on here? Find out what's going on in the neighborhood. So, all right, I'll take schools. You want to answer that question?
Yeah. What are the schools like, Ken?
So, Washoe County does have a rating system online. We have it on our website too, livinginsouthreno.com, under neighborhoods, and it shows you all the schools.
You haven't done a video for this yet? You should
No.
do a drone video of all the schools for all the
That's a
people
lot.
out there.
That's a lot of work, and I don't know if I can.
Alright.
But
Washoe County's a good-
schools are important. Washoe County School District. You can log on. You can see what schools' ratings are associated, and insider tip: you can go on to the Washoe County Assessor's website, type in the address, and I have a video I'm going to link up there that you can go see what the particular lot is and what the schools are zoned for. So.
Oh, I did not know you could do that.
Yeah, GIS is a beautiful thing. So
Cool.
all right, so this is a good one for the topic right now. We have a lot of snow, atmospheric river, lots of flooding. The question is the location prone to natural disasters?
All right, so when you start the process of buying a house, one of the things a lender does is actually does a flood certification. So through a third-party website, we go plug in the address, pay the $15, and we get certified if you're in a flood zone. There's the first indicator. If you're in a flood zone, and it might not be a flood zone that requires flood insurance, but there's different levels of it. Even in Nevada, there are flood zones. Right down 2 houses down from my parents, there's like a gully that kind of washes through, and times like this when it snows and then it's raining for 3 or 4 days afterwards, there could be some flooding. And if any of that flood zone broaches your property line, it can put you into the flood zone. So
Yeah, so the other thing too is we did a video on this podcast, FEMA flood map, Washoe County Assessor. I'll link it above. We're sending it out today. It's actually one of our best viewed videos in the last 3 days.
Love it.
The other thing is watch out for fire danger. So if you're up in the trees, make sure you're defensible space. Galena, if you're up in the Mount Rose Estates, you gotta know that there's fire danger and make sure that you're clearing.
You gotta have your defensible space, but then you gotta make sure your neighbors are doing it too, right?
Yeah. So,
But if you haven't bought the house yet, check out the neighborhood. Get back on that dog walk.
yeah, and the best thing to do is just make sure that you're visiting the house, talking to a realtor. So,
All right. Any problems with the house, Ken?
so I'm not
We
a
haven't
home
found the house
inspector.
yet.
Not a home inspector. So you go look at a house. Typically what we do for our clients, used to be an engineer, still am an engineer, but we walk around the house, bring up issues like what way is it facing? If there's snow on the roof, you can walk around the house and kind of tell. We've looked at enough houses where you can say, hello, the gutters need to be replaced, or first walk around the house and make sure that you're doing your due diligence when you're walking through a home.
Okay.
And maybe go look at it twice.
That's a good idea.
Obviously, we're going to always have a home inspection. We don't let anybody buy a house without a home inspection.
What about if I can't make it to see the house? Should I buy it sight unseen?
I've only had that happen once in my career.
So
I
did-
don't.
Did you do those FaceTime videos?
No, sight unseen.
Good for you.
I don't recommend it. I rather you be there to look at it and for the home inspection. But if we work with several home inspectors that are excellent.
Well, these days, if you got 30 days roughly when the house goes up for sale to when it gets sold, that gives you a little bit of time. At least you get to sleep on it now.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. So, well, and if there's like, looks like there's something on the roof where maybe there was a leak and it's kind of like got that brown look to it, and maybe it's not leaking now, but it dried. Yeah, there might have been something up there farther
And
up.
the nice thing is that if you identify some things during your walkthrough, you can put it on a list and specifically ask the home inspector about any issues. So.
All right, Ken. So number 10, how old is the roof?
So that's a good question. Again, you can go to the Washoe County Assessors. This is if you're not on this site, if you're looking for a home, you're really missing out. So you can type in the address, go to Washoe County Assessor, click on the address, put just the address without the suffix behind it, don't claim that. And it shows you the age of the house, it shows you any permits, so you can kind of find out when the house has been re-roofed. Because usually, if you're doing a re-roof, you have to pull a permit. And it gives all the evidence of.
So if the house is 40 years old and there's no permits in the recent history, which I think that website's pretty up to date for the last 20 years.
20, yep. You watch my podcast, yep.
Yes. So if it's been 20 years and there's been no permits for a new roof, get a roof inspection.
Right. It might be someone more in addition to your home inspector. But yeah, and you need to have that budgeted because roofs are not cheap, especially if you do a tile roof. And there are a lot of houses in South Reno that require tile, and tile roofs are very expensive.
Yeah, mine's one of them.
So make sure you're taking a look at that.
Well, does the Washoe County Assessor going to tell me how old the appliances are?
Washoe County, no, it's not. That's the next question, number 11. You just gonna visually inspect those, and again, if
Can you pull model numbers or something? It probably gives you a time period.
Yeah, the newer ones have QR codes. The old ones, you can just kind of look at them. But if that's something you want to do, you're talking several thousands of dollars, depending on how fancy you want to go.
Oh, to replace them, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure they're going to last.
Well, the other thing too, we're seeing that our clients are using very successfully right now is a home warranty.
Yeah, so we got a year warranty when we bought our last house, and that was quite helpful.
So what my home inspector says beautifully is like if a house is 20, 30 years old, you're at the point where some stuff's going to go wrong. So hot water heaters, furnace. So
it sounds like maintenance. And home ownership to me.
If you're at the 20 to 30 year mark, a lot of those things are failing, and it might be a worthy thing to ask for, have the seller pay for it.
Okay, cool.
So that's an option out there.
What's included when I buy? So I'm guessing like everything you see in the house is included, right?
Oh no.
Okay.
So so you got to be careful on this and be very clear on what's included. So basically, lights, smoke detectors, garage doors, anything that's affixed.
What about the Ring doorbell?
That's actually, no, it's not. You actually have to put that in there.
So you have to add that as like a note.
It's best to
but
put
it's
that.
Fixed. I screwed mine in and everything.
I know, but if you want that as a buyer, you need to put it in there because what happens, I've had this happen, and I've paid for my Ring doorbell before.
That you have.
The seller will go, oh, Ring doorbell, that's expensive. It's $100. They unscrew it, put the old doorbell back.
Okay.
So, and that's
even after they showed the house for sale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't think that's staying. But if any appliances, washer, dryer, hot tubs, lawn chairs, any.
I can take my washer and dryer if I want.
You can take it, but just keep in mind that if you don't put these things like a pool table, like we're looking at right now, into the contract, you can anticipate not having them.
Okay. So
the big things are.
So if it's in writing, then.
Yes, be in writing.
All right, that makes sense.
But yeah, if you want something in like a picture or a hot tub furniture, make sure it's in the contract. And there's something there that says, if it's broken, seller's not responsible. So keep that in mind that if they're not promising that it's going to work. So what number are we on?
13.
What are similar homes selling for?
Wow, that's kind of your job, but we're going to do an appraisal. So the appraiser is going to go and see what other homes have sold for, past tense, right? So they're looking at last month and a couple months back and maybe 6 months or more long ago. If you're trying to stay in the same neighborhood, but isn't that part of the comparable consideration when you make an offer? Or
Yes.
maybe when the home's listed too.
Yeah, so people few mistakes that buyers make is A, they use Zillow. So,
Here.
you know, gives you a ballpark, but you need your realtor to go in there. And again, you can go to Washoe County Assessor. It's a beautiful thing. Type in the address, grab the neighborhood code. It spits out a Excel file, and you can actually search by square footage. So that's one way of doing it, and that collects all the houses, even if it was for sale by owner. Keep in mind that if on the MLS, for sale by owners don't get included. So you might be missing one that could help your cause on showing a house that at a lower price.
Interesting.
But we're always going to pull comps and make sure it makes sense, because ultimately you have to get an appraisal because the bank wants to give you a mortgage. So.
Gotcha. All right, number 14. We're rolling down the line here. What's the reason for selling?
So that's a good question.
Now this is buyers asking of the seller, right?
Yeah.
I guess they're asking you. Do you go knock on their door and find out? Is that how that works?
No, I'm not allowed to talk to their clients, but I am allowed to contact and find out why. Now, typically, if I'm representing the seller, mum's the word. I'm not really disclosing why I'm moving, because you don't want to give away your cards on, oh, I have to move because of this situation. It might impact.
I'm buying another house and it's closing next month, and I really need you to buy it now.
You don't want to. The worst thing you want to do as a listing agent is disclose anything that could hurt your client. But it certainly doesn't hurt to shoot an email and say, hey, what's the reason for moving?
So you talked about meeting neighbors and stuff earlier. I have a client that he went and literally met every neighbor. He knew everything about the guy he was buying the home from, because he literally just went chatty Cathy on the whole neighborhood. So back to that dog walk thing.
Yeah, so do your homework. You can ask your agent to ask why they're moving, but a good agent on the other side is not going to say anything. They're just going to say, hey, they're moving. So last one, I know it's been a little longer one, but this is really good information. How many days has the house been on the market?
This time.
Yeah, the MLS does a very poor job of recording that, but you can kind of see on there, there's days on the market.
So if somebody listed their house last year for $100,000 more, and then took it off the market, and they listed it at a more current day's price.
There are games to be had, and it's very confusing. So
hire a realtor. I think that's the key. The realtor can look through the history. That's their job. So.
And it's not usually updated on like Redfin, Zillow. So all that information is privy to a realtor who has access to the MLS, and it kind of shows the history and who's been listed. And so
I think it even shows who showed it too. Right?
That's right. So if you have any questions, looking to buy a house, we'd love to take you to lunch, figure out what you need, do your homework. The best thing in this market is be prepared. Don't think that you can get away with 2 or 3% saved up. You probably need on the 7 to 10%.
Well, hang on. I'm just going to say this. So if you have only 3% to your name and you're going to put it all down on the house, how are you going to make the mortgage payment?
Or move. Yeah, so be careful. You gotta,
plan ahead for sure.
Yeah, and so if you're thinking about, we have a lot of clients that think about it for a year and do the planning. Talk to us ahead of time, because you can start planning now and put money aside, and then you can be really in good shape from a year now, 6 months from now.
This is probably the most important time to be premeditated, I would say.
That's right. So, all right, you guys like our videos. Brian's been an awesome contributor. We're killing it. We're doing lots of new videos. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a topic that you want to know about,
drop them in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments, comment, like our videos, and share with your friends. So,
awesome.
Everyone stay dry and safe, and enjoy the weekend.
All right. Take care.
Take care.